afternoon. Welcome to day 3. Are you having a good time so far? Yes. And let's continue that applause for a moment for the organizers and all of the volunteers that have gone into making this thing such a success. Yes, it's a wonderful thing. My name is Talia Pura, and I am the president of the local SAG-AFTRA branch. And thank you. And we are extremely pleased to be one of the very many sponsors of this fabulous event. And today's panel is unlocking the power of your story with the perfect log line. All creators know how important that log line is. It takes you years to write your script, and then it takes you another 5 months to come up with a perfect log line. So maybe after today's panel, you'll have a better handle on how to shortcut that process. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to the moderator of today's event. Her name is Caitlin Burns. And this is the smallest font I've encountered lately. I'm going to find my light so I can actually have a hope of reading it properly. There we go, much better. So, a pioneer in the concept of transmedia storytelling in Hollywood, Caitlin Burns is best known for creating multi-platform narrative strategies for major global film franchises, AAA console games, television shows, and global brands. Along the way, she developed a reputation as the producer to call if you have a need of a new type of product media or to create sustainable business models for new media formats. Now, her resume is so impressive that it would probably be much shorter to simply read the projects in Hollywood she has not been involved in, but I'm going to go through the list anyway because it's fabulous. She has created award-winning experiences, campaigns, and strategies for well-known IPs, brands, and institutions, including Pirates of the Caribbean, Descendants, and Tron Legacy for Disney, James Cameron's Avatar, Halo for Microsoft, The Happiness Factory for the Coca-Cola Company, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for Nickelodeon, Batman, The Legacy Call for DC, and UNICEF Kid Power. Are you exhausted yet? That's quite the range. It's fabulous. A member of the Producers Guild of America, she served on its national board and as vice chair of the PGA's New Media Council. Welcome, Caitlin Burns.
Thank you, Talia. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to everyone in the audience who submitted their log line. Thank you so much for being trapped up here on stage with me, Christopher. I'm hoping you'll help me rewrite my bio. Hard to get those lists in. I've written a ton of log lines myself at the franchise level and for all of those different types of platforms. And there's really an art to this. I want to of course, we're going to dive into this, I promise. But first, I am going to ask you a bunch of questions about yourself. First one is, tell us a little bit about your role and what you do day to day.
Right. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. This is my third or fourth year here, and I always have a good time. Thank you, Ivan and Kira, Larry Schwartz. My name is Chris Lockhart, and so I deal with log lines a lot. I work at a talent agency, the world's largest diversified talent agency, WME, William Morris Endeavor. And I'm the story editor. I'm not an agent, so I don't represent actors. Don't try. But as the story editor, my job is to search for potential film, stage, and TV projects for some of our biggest clients. People like Denzel Washington or Emma Stone or The Rock, Matt and Ben, Christian Bale. And others who are escaping me. Some like up and coming talent, Austin Butler and Bill Skarsgård, if you know who he is. Pennywise from the It movies, son of Stellan Skarsgård and brother of Alexander Skarsgård.
And Gustav Skarsgård.
It's a dynasty, and so the job entails hearing a lot of pitches, reading a lot of scripts, going through magazines, plays, bubble gum wrappers. You can find a story almost anywhere, and my day-to-day consists of reading. There's a lot of meetings. There's drawing up a lot of notes. So let's say that I have a client who is attached to a project. My job is to make sure that the integrity of that project, the creative elements that attracted that client to the project to begin with, do not get lost in that development stage, because we can get 20, 30 drafts. So Denzel is involved in a project called Hannibal. This is Hannibal of Carthage. This is Hannibal with the elephants, not Hannibal with the lambs. And John Logan, a great screenwriter who wrote The Last Samurai and other stuff that's escaping me, and is also a playwright, has probably done, it seems like 35 drafts. Like a new draft comes in almost twice a week.
Yeah.
And Denzel doesn't have time to read all that stuff. And so I have to make sure that everything is tracking, any cuts that they make aren't detracting from the role or hurting the script in any way, shape, or form. Sometimes I'm asked to actually make suggestions on what can be cut to lower budgets. I guess kind of the easiest way to define the job is it's a little bit like being a studio executive and being a dramaturg in a theater.
Yeah.
Just kind of the best way. And sometimes there's producerial kind of responsibilities. Like I might work with a writer-director client who pitches me an idea, and then I help them to develop that into a script. And then when it's being shot, I'm there on the set with them. I might go in post if they're having a hard time finding the story during the editing process, and help with that. Sometimes I'm not even involved in a project, and I'm just called in post because the project is lost, or there's an actor who's very unhappy with it, and that actor gets final cut. And so I get to go in and help reshape it. And for those of you who are filmmakers, you could probably imagine how unpopular I am when I am brought in outside of the purview of both the director and the editor. And I've actually had directors tell me to fuck off and storm out, and editors say the same thing. And then I'm working with like the assistant editor. But I do it all with a smile and a sense of humor. And so the day-to-day is very varied.
Yeah. So what you're trying to say is your job is not at all complex. You aren't dealing with very much material. You have a lot of time to think, and a lot of breathing room.
Well, to be honest, I've been doing it so long now. It's almost 30 years. I started at ICM, which was a very powerful agency. It no longer exists. It recently was eaten up by another agency called CAA. I nicknamed them the Death Star. And so I was there for many years. And so for me, a lot of it is really second nature.
Yeah.
And the clients, especially the ones that I've been working with for a long time, are they're not very demanding. And I really don't even have a boss. My boss are my clients.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a really interesting part of the process. For me in development, I do a lot of work with projects pre-production. We have to do a lot of work to communicate what's in a project across a bunch of different expertise. So they have totally different glossaries. Imagine trying to explain the word avatar to like 30 different people, all different backgrounds, all different ethnicities, and it also includes game companies, which mean that in a very different way. But how many people do you think, like, what's the path of the script before you've ever seen it? How many people do you think have looked at it and had to understand it and curated it before it gets to your level? Someone with your level of expertise going to the kind of talent you work with.
Well, sometimes I'm the first person because it might actually come off of the printer of a very high-profile writing client of the agency, and he tells his agent, "Oh, I want Denzel to star in this," and they're just going to send it to me. Yeah. Other times, it's if it's going to go, let's say, through the studio system and then comes to me. Well, it's obviously been beaten to death at the studio, and then there are people at the agency who might look at it first and then vet it before it comes to me. But just so we're clear, I don't make the final decision.
Right.
My job is, let's say that Denzel gets 3,000 scripts a year. My job is to find 4 or 5 out of that pile and put them in front of him. He can only make 1 or 2 movies a year.
Yeah.
So, and then they choose, and there's a lot of factors. They're often not always choosing based on the quality of the script. Sometimes they're choosing based on who the director is or how much they're getting paid. So it's not always about the script.
And I think the other part of this is when you're looking at a really good script, it knows who its audience is. And when we talk about log lines, I think about this audience as being everyone in this chain of people making decisions about the film, the piece, whether we're going to pick it up, whether they're going to show it to Denzel. And that audience is very different. Tell me a little bit about what is a log line? Who is the audience for it? How is it used?
So a log line is just the absolute purest expression of your screenplay in a dramatic language. Yeah. You're basically just telling us who is the protagonist, what does the protagonist want, and what stands in the protagonist's way. You're just stripping down the story, you're like factoring it down to those 3 elements, and you're putting it into a sentence.
Yeah.
That's it.
And this is not the tagline that goes on your poster. That's not the hook that's inviting the audience in.
It's not a synopsis.
Not a synopsis. And this, I think, gets confused a lot because the log line, your audience is kind of B2B. This is, if we were on LinkedIn, your B2B target. How am I going to convey what my project is fastest to someone who probably either reads so much in a day you can't believe it, or who refuses to read it all.
Exactly.
I've pitched in Hollywood people who will only greenlight projects based on the name of the film. They don't want to know anything else. It was crazy, but it worked. And, depending on the team, depending on the person you're pitching to, they will have an attention span for it, or you'll need to hook them with that log line so that they know what you're talking about. They see their connection to it as fast as possible, right?
Yeah, and you use log lines all the time. Like at work, that's how we communicate what projects are about. So anytime an email goes out at work talking about a particular project, there's a log line there.
Yeah.
The log line might have been written by the writer. The log line might have been written by the agent's assistant. It's not like a log line follows a screenplay like its title does. It doesn't work that way. Log lines are created by who's ever reading the script. So if you were reading a script, you might come up with a log line for it. And if you were reading it, you would come up with your own log line for it. But if the script were well written, then the odds are that your log line and your log line would be very similar. And so that's the way we communicate story ideas, because like you say, nobody has time to read the, hundreds of thousands of scripts that are circulating town looking for a buyer. Yeah. Just can't do it.
Yeah.
So the logline is the language that we use. And by the way, it's not just at an agency, right? A producer needs a logline. Maybe a producer bumps into an actor that they want to star in their movie. And they're like, hey, I got to tell you about this. And you throw out the logline. And they say, wow, that's interesting. Tell me more. Or they're like, yeah, that's a pass. But it is the just quickest, shortest, most potent way to describe what your story is about.
Yeah. And I will say that loglines then become super important if you have the kind of project that can go on and become something more. I once had to watch a press screening. I think it was Pirates of the Caribbean 2. There was a scene so pivotal in this movie that it wasn't completed and finished until like the absolute last minute it could be set out for distribution. And this scene completely changed whether the rest of the projects around Pirates of the Caribbean went one way or another. And Gore Verbinski didn't have time to tell me what that was. So I had to go into the first screening that was public to see it, write down some scribbled notes, update the logline, and send it to 30 divisions after that.
Right.
So when you think about these summaries, they do sometimes change based on the work you're doing, but they're used again and again as a tool to help people who are working with you, help people you want to work with you, understand what is actually in your story. And great loglines tell you in a way that is immediately recognizable to almost any human. So I think we have some examples to kick us off, a little bit of a game.
Well, we had, I believe some of the participants here submitted
yes
loglines. And so we're going to, I'm going to stand.
Yeah.
I don't like sitting down. We're going to, pardon my back.
Yeah.
Not much to
Welcome
look at. All right.
to the hot seat, everyone in the audience.
All right.
Everyone who submitted is in this
Everybody who
presentation.
submitted. So we're going to look at these log lines and we're going to break them down a little bit to sort of see what works and what doesn't work. Now, I never say something, very, very rarely will I say, wow, that's a great log line. But what I will say is like that log line works because great is very subjective, Like what I think is great, you may not think is great, but we can certainly agree on whether or not it works. And so that tends to be the language that I use unless I really hear a great log line. Now, I can be a little bit of a dick when we do this stuff. For anybody who has come in the past, And I'm just going to say, I have to get this out.
Yeah.
I heard log lines this morning from the students at Albuquerque High School. And they were better than these log lines. Just for your information.
As a
I'm gonna be a
counterpoint
nightmare for the camera.
to my friends in the audience, you all heard my bio. Brevity is hard. Getting it short, getting it tight takes a lot of work. I've spent months on log lines. Not that we weren't using them in the meantime, but it's always something you're crafting.
Now, I took the liberty to rewrite a few of these just to show you how perhaps I would have done it. It's not the only way to do it. I'm not saying that my way is the best, but it's just a way to sort of show you, oh, okay, like I get it. All right, so let's go. All right, do you want to read it or you want me to read it?
Why don't I read it and then
Okay.
you'll talk? All right, thank you to Ken Chavez. When a disgraced trauma therapist discovers that AI emotional proxies are secretly erasing human souls rather than healing trauma, he must expose a corporate conspiracy before a global update permanently sterilizes humanity's capacity to feel.
Okay, so that is not a terrible log line. I think it's a little wordy, but are you able to sort of discern what the movie is? Because no, all right. So like this guy here saying no, he's saying yes. So it's very, very subjective. So let's again always keep that in mind. My opinion here today on any of your log lines is just that. It is an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's a damn good opinion, mind you. But it's just an opinion.
Yeah.
So I think I did. I'm not sure exactly the ones that I did rewrites on. Was this one?
I believe it is.
All right, let's see.
Yeah.
All right. All right,
Well,
so
why don't you read you?
all right, I'll read me. A disgraced trauma therapist uncovers AI proxies that erase human souls, and he struggles to expose the corporate conspiracy before a global update wipes out humanity's ability to feel. Now, do you understand that a little bit better? All right, so I'm not saying that it's genius. Is the writer of this logline here? All right,
Nice.
but so what I would say about that previous logline is that it had the elements that a logline is supposed to have, which is who is the protagonist, what does the protagonist want, and what stands in the protagonist's way, right? So you help me out. Who is the protagonist? All right, what is it that the therapist wants? Okay, and what are they up against? All right, both either the corporation and this potential global update. So everything that you need is there. So it's actually easy for me to do a rewrite because I'm not close to the material. So it's very easy for me to say, we don't need this, we don't need that, we don't need this. This is why loglines are often wordy from the writer because they're not always sure what it is that they can omit or really even want to omit. And we're going to see some examples of that. All right. So, Ken Chavez. Good job, Ken Chavez. All right. Now, I didn't do rewrites for all of them because I couldn't.
All right.
I could really only do rewrites on the ones that give me the information that I need. Who is the protagonist? What does the protagonist want? And what stands in the protagonist's way? You don't give me that information, then I can't write a logline for it because I'd have to make stuff up. And that's, that's not fair to you. All right. Andrew, you here? Bunch of chicken shits, not shit.
All right. I get to mangle Andrews. I promise we'll get to everybody.
All right.
All right. I'm going to go for. Want me to read it?
No.
Yeah.
It's
All right.
you. Yeah, you.
A group of young adults head back to their hometown for a Halloween camping trip. What starts out as laughs, reminiscence, and spooky campfire stories quickly spirals into a nightmare when they stumble upon the cursed burial ground of a witch. By the end of the night, the legend is no longer just a story, it's hunting them.
All right, so who is the protagonist? Who knows? All right, so it is clearly the group of young adults, but the problem is that what you always want to do in a logline is you want to pull out who the protagonist is, right? Like when I pitched the remake of The Magnificent Seven to Denzel, I didn't use the idea of the Magnificent Seven. It was his character with the Magnificent Six. So you pull out your protagonist. And you do that because, so if this comes to me, I wouldn't even know, like who am I going to read this for? Like a group of young adults, that doesn't help me at all. Yeah. So always present it from a protagonist. Now, there are obviously, if you're writing an ensemble piece, then there are ways to handle that. One of the kids today, the very, very first question that was asked of me was, well, how do you handle an ensemble piece? Yeah. And maybe I'll answer that question here if we come to it. But so here, we're not exactly sure who the protagonist is. And then what is it that the protagonist wants? Tell me. Have a good time. What?
Well, we don't even know that.
But we don't even know that because you are extrapolating that, and
They could all
okay.
be deeply depressed. We don't know their mental state at all.
So this logline is missing that want. And by the way, let me point this out. That is the most common mistake in all loglines, especially from newer writers, is they have a protagonist and they might even have the antagonist, but they don't have what it is that the character is pursuing. And that's your movie. That's your movie. Your movie is the want. What is it that the character wants? That's the movie. Like, Dorothy finds herself in Oz. What is it that she wants? She wants to get home. And that's her struggle through the movie. If you didn't have that, then she'd be in Oz like drinking and smoking with the little people. And that could go on forever.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of haunting witches, on a project like this, and especially when we're dealing with franchises with a lot of different potential story threads here, like go back to your terrifying elementary school English teacher and cross out any lists.
yeah, lists are not good. I don't like lists in log
No,
lines.
like in a log line, you want to make sure that you're hitting the wants, that you're keeping it simple. But, I'm just like, occasionally I'll get a flashback to the Sainted Mrs. Kamemo just sitting over my shoulder. And I think those high school students have an edge because that teacher's right there.
I think you're right. Yeah. And all of this stuff about spooky campfires, we understand a Halloween camping trip, we get it. And then the other issue that I have with this is that the characters are on the defense. We are not seeing these characters actively pursue something. They are reacting. They're reacting to the witch as opposed to them pursuing something, even if it's that they are fleeing through the forest to get to the sheriff's station. Whatever it is, something that we can see, giving your character a finish line that the audience understands, oh, my character is pursuing this, and we wonder, gee, will they succeed or will they not succeed? But we don't really know here because the log line is presented in a reactive manner rather than an active manner.
Yeah. So thank you to Andrew. If you can tell us what the characters want in the comments as you tune in at home, please let us know. I want to know.
Are people watching at home?
All right. In the golden age of pirates, Mary, a fugitive passing herself as male, sails for the Caribbean in search of her murdered husband's family fortune. When Mary joins the crew of the infamous pirate Calico Jack, she must keep her quest as well as her identity secret, while the crew struggles to stay one step ahead of the British Navy and the rival pirates.
Okay, let's stay on this slide for a moment. Now, I know David is here. All right, so I'm going to be nice to him because he was so nice to me when he came in. And listen, if you kiss my ass, I'm going to treat you like a baby. All right. So I did a rewrite of this, but let's just look at this for a minute. I think all the elements are there, right? We know who the protagonist, we know what it is that the protagonist wants, and we have an understanding of what stands in the protagonist's way. By the way, this is a pretty popular story. Like, I've read many scripts. This is about Mary somebody or another. Correct, right. Yep. And so, this is very much in public domain. So there's a lot of scripts, and this is a very popular pitch also, just so you know. And I think that it is advisable to not use character names because character names don't tell us enough. Although, you do an okay job here, but it's just because you give us so much information. But names don't tell us about people. If you give us a noun and a very strong adjective without the name, then I know so much more about that character. So keep that in mind. All right, so to me, this went a little bit off track because this is Mary's story. Even if Calico Jack's got a great big role, this is Mary's story, and the logline needs to stay with her. So, a rather truncated version, in 1720, a defiant fugitive disguises herself as a man and joins a cutthroat pirate crew in the Caribbean, determined to recover her murdered husband's fortune while keeping her mission and identity a secret.
Yeah.
Better?
And
what I get paid the big bucks for.
And one trick I want to point out here, something that I always recommend people do, is read your work out loud. Because when you start to process it through your vocal faculties and you start running out of breath, you're going to disconnect from what's on the page. You'll see repeated words differently. You'll see the pacing of your lines better, especially if you're writing a script where there's dialogue. Say it out loud and see how silly you feel with it.
So was this for a series, by the way? Okay, so we were not at least I was not given the information as to if this was for a series or a feature, which would have been helpful. But regardless, this could still, this could sustain 5 seasons. It just takes her a really long time to find her husband's fortune.
At a certain point, you want to make sure that story works for both. It's not quite as cut and dry when you get into thinking about it in practice, especially today, where Denzel may decide he wants to spend 12 hours telling this story with the character, or you may go to streaming and find a different budget. If you can get a good log line, you can make it longer, but you want to keep it tight. You want to hit those wants. Feature film, you're going to want to keep it tight, but if it's a great story and you catch the eye, you don't necessarily know whether it's going to be 90 minutes, 9 hours, beyond that.
And for TV, you might have several log lines. You might have one for the pilot, and you might have one for the series. And then you might have some for each additional episode that you might have written. Sometimes the pilot sets up the series, and so then it kind of gets everything all in one go, and then other times it doesn't. Lookbooks are really for directors because I'm going to direct it, and I want you to know what this is going to look like. Now, you could put a pitch deck together, which is different than a lookbook. Okay, yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk.
We've got quite a few left to go, Chris.
All right. Listen, I'm slow. What can I say? I take this very
it's all
seriously.
Great,
very seriously.
I know there's a panel after us.
All right. Cares.
Oh, Nook. Nook actually had a great short in the shorts program yesterday. Let's see. So I'm going to say this one. Are you in the audience? No? All right. Well, I'll pick him later. Tie Guys is a bold, cinematic, pragmatic sketch comedy that flips cultural stereotypes on their heads. Through satire, culture, and social commentary, we create outrageous characters in even more outrageous situations to hilariously explore the Asian experience, especially Thai culture.
Okay, so this colors out of the lines for obvious reasons because it's not a traditional narrative. This is, I'm assuming, a sketch comedy TV show. That's what it seems like to me. Sketch comedy.
Yeah.
And so I think this is fine. It's a little long. I actually did a revised version, and then I was like, nah, this is all right. But I would probably take out some of the stuff. You don't necessarily have to be so hypey, hilariously cinematic, bold, pragmatic. It's a little much. Maybe you give us one strong word. Remember, get in and out. In and out. Don't spend too much time on this stuff. And don't blow it up, for God's sakes. Because I read this and I'm thinking, that show's not that funny. Because it's just not that funny. And by the way, this isn't even funny. Right?
Yeah. All right. From John Dean Alphone.
All right.
John, are you in the audience? Or John?
Listen to the murmuring.
Oh.
A lot of
All
murmuring.
right.
Why are you murmuring? Because it's like a massive block of text?
Okay.
All right, but let me say, remember, I said log line, and, well, it's only 2 lines for all of that. All right. By the way, I should just say, log lines don't really have to be contained to a certain amount of words, but the key is to try to make it 1 line, because it's a log line, not log lines. It's singular. All right, at any rate, go ahead.
All right.
Good luck with this.
A passionate love story set in New Orleans of Alex, a young American drifter/sculptor, and Beatrice, an Italian celebrity looking to escape the attention of stardom. Several years after the affair, Beatrice is dead and recounts a tale from the grave, reminiscing about her wonderful, adventurous life cut short as she anonymously comes back to Earth for 3 days dressed in a Roman toga during the New Orleans Mardi Gras carnival season to avenge her death and see her lover one last time.
Here's the best part.
Based on a true story.
What the fuck does that mean? Are you kidding me? But watch the magic.
Oh, wait. Dang. Oh. No. Wrong one. Oh.
What, is it not there? Oh, here we go.
No, it's a different one.
Oh, it's not there. All right.
Sorry, y'all.
Don't worry. I'm always prepared.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm
Going
always
back.
prepared.
Oh, yeah. Gives me
Why
a
don't
chance
you
to catch
bring
my
it back?
breath. Yeah.
Right there it is. Oy. Gives me agita. Okay, here's my rewrite. In New Orleans during the Mardi Gras, the ghost of a glamorous Italian starlet returns for 3 days to avenge her death and reunite with the drifter sculptor she once loved.
Based on a true story.
Yeah, you will notice that I left that out. Now, by the way, don't editorialize in your log line and leave out any like meta references. Just tell us the story. Who's the protagonist? What do they want? What stands in their way? And I had something else to say, but it dropped out of my head, and I'll say it later. Go ahead.
All right. Next up, thankfully, Chris Martin. I don't have to be lightheaded. After the death of his girlfriend, a guilt-ridden man enters a psychedelic healing ritual that forces him to face his past and decide if he wants to live.
Okay, who's the protagonist? Okay, what does he want? All right, so what does that mean? Decides he wants to live. Well, then maybe you need to present that in an active way, right? And maybe say that, he contemplates suicide. But you want to, this is vague. By the way, never use the word decides in a log line. It's internal, and we don't watch people decide. The dramatist finds a way to externalize everything that is internal. You find dramatic metaphors, you cinematize that stuff, and you bring it out through drama. This is all internal. Now, if this were a novel, I might say, okay. But as a film, I don't really know what it's about.
Yeah. Chris, are you in the audience? What is with this? Folks at home tuning in, I hope all of you who submitted are in fact tuning in later.
Are people
Tell us
watching
in the
this from home?
comments, hit the inside pitch. We want to know more. We joke because we love and because we want to figure out what the answer is.
I don't joke because I love. All right, I love you a little bit, but that's it. All right.
Do we have a Katie in the audience? Woo! All right.
Katie. Oh, yeah, here we go.
In the process of writing an epic poem, the psychedelic poet channels a legendary conquistador and discovers the secret to global peace.
Okay, so Katie, I'm not going to critique this. Why don't you? Based on some of the things that you've heard me say here, some of the things you've heard Caitlin say here, some of the reactions you've heard from the audience, what do you think might not be working in this?
First of all, full disclosure, I did not write this. I'm not the writer. So it's better. It's a good thing because I'm not going to take it personally.
Good, because I'm about to
Okay,
myrtleize
good.
you.
No, I mean,
All right.
this is why I'm here.
All right, so answer my question.
Okay.
Look at that.
So the main thing that I got is we don't, the number 3, that we don't really know what stands in his way, I think.
All right, all right, sure. But what is it that the character wants?
Yeah, that too. Okay.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this log line doesn't work. In the process of writing an epic poem, which by the way sounds amazingly dull. What are we going to actually film? Somebody writing a poem? That sounds pretty boring to me.
But by the way, just so you know.
By the way, the worst thing you can do is give people in the audience the microphone.
Yeah, right? It was written by my father, my late father.
Oh, well,
No,
sorry,
he's
folks.
scared.
That doesn't make me any softer. The guy's not here. He can't hear my mean criticism. Well, I have a dead father, too, so I can,
Well,
I don't
I have
care
to
about any of
admit,
that.
I'm a sucker for a Terry Gilliam movie and a legendary conquistador, so I do hope that you work this log line, because I'd watch it.
Because look here, it's like, all right, so in the process of writing an epic poem, the psychedelic poet, that's our protagonist, channels a legendary conquistador. Okay, fine. and discovers the secret to global peace. Here's the thing. In a movie, you have a character, and basically the character has a problem. And then the rest of the movie is about the character trying to solve the problem. That's what a movie is in a nutshell. So what's the problem? The problem is the log line. That's the problem. So he or she channels the legendary conquistador, and then looks like everything's great. And then they discover the secret to global peace, which seems like it's the end of the movie. Log lines don't give us the end of the movie. Log lines basically are contained to the first act of your script, because that's where we learn who the protagonist is, what is it the protagonist wants, and what stands in the protagonist's way. That's all set up in the first act. So if you are writing a log line for The Sixth Sense, you do not include, spoiler alert, that Bruce Willis is dead.
All right, let's move on.
You woman who's
All right.
not Katie.
Catherine, do we have Catherine in the audience? All right.
Is she here?
Nope. All
All
right.
right,
She
go ahead.
can't hear us, except at home. We love you. Lamenting the real suffering in the world, sensitive individuals are drawn to a mysterious inner world where nature spirits help them to heal.
Ooh, yeah. This is a little bit like the previous log line. All right. So who is the protagonist? Sensitive individuals. And what is it that they want? Yeah,
They're lamenting.
we really don't know. And what stands in their way? We really don't know. This is not a log line. No. It is not a movie. No. Is this a movie you want to see? You don't want to see this movie, do you?
And this is a kind of log line you see a lot with people who are trying to pitch story worlds or trying to pitch franchises, because it's so big as a concept that you want to tell all of it, but you have to be able to hone it down to what's going to give you the genre, what's going to give you the motives. This could be everything from an action-packed military sci-fi to a deep artistic fantasy. Like, we don't know. I could make almost any movie from this log line.
Absolutely. And so as a result, we can't see this movie. And in regards to the whole kind of big world thing and stuff, keep in mind that the log line is really presenting the core of your story. And so the key is, when you're conceiving your screenplay, is you keep the core of the screenplay simple. Complicate the plot around it, but keep the core simple. This is what Shakespeare understood. So Hamlet is an incredibly complicated play. But at its core, it's basically just a young man avenging the murder of his father. That's all Hamlet is about. That's at its center. Shakespeare understood. I'm going to create a complicated world with lots of characters and lots of politics, but my core is going to be very simple. You keep the core simple and you complicate the plot. If you have a complicated core, then the plot will only get so much more complicated. That really ends up bordering on convoluted. So keep it simple.
All right.
It also works when you got to write your logline, which, by the way, you should really think about writing the logline before you write the screenplay. Because the problem is that let's say that any of these people, like this woman, has already written that screenplay. Maybe she put a year into it. If she had just understood what those three elements of the logline are, she could ask herself, are these elements in the story that I'm about to write? Rather than spending a year and then having me and Caitlin just sort of dismiss it in like 30 seconds.
And we come back to log lines over and over when we're looking at making a book, making a game, making anything else about it. These become compasses that help us determine, is this part of the same world? All right, Jeremy, are you in the audience? Nice. We've got a winner.
Because he's a nice guy.
Also,
Kind of
he
look like
was
Drew
nice to
Carey
me.
a little bit.
I can already tell he was nice to me as a reader and a speaker. So, two cowboys caught up in a moment of love, loss, and deception takes a wild feud filled turn of events ignited by jealousy, anger, and anguish.
Okay. It should be take, yes? And not take?
Yeah,
Okay.
take.
All right.
And
It's okay.
do you mean to say wild feud filled? Yes? Okay.
All right.
Commas.
Or,
Hyphens.
hyphens, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so obviously this reminds everybody of Brokeback Mountain, which is okay. But so no, no.
More Wild
Have
Feuds.
you heard of it? Okay. All right. Okay. So here's the thing. It's vague. All right. So you've got two cowboys. Now, can we assume that they're boys, or is it that they're gay cowboys? Like they're not, but they're
Yeah.
boys. Okay.
And I think coming back to this, like, is your story about the feud or is it about the love these two cowboys share? Because the first thing you chose here sent us all right to Brokeback Mountain.
Right. And but they're not
So
gay.
they have a shared love interest.
But they're not
who's the
gay.
third party?
So
Okay.
that becomes a problem because we immediately go to Brokeback Mountain, and so that doesn't fare well for you, right? Because now we're thinking, so it lacks clarity there. And again, this is vague. Takes a wild feud-filled turn of events. We need to know exactly what that is. Yeah. And in a movie, you should be able to crystallize it to one thing, rather than because the idea of turn of events is going to be a list.
Yeah. But this is the list thing again. Everything after the first comma is going to get lost. So are they rivals? Are they in love? Is it about a moment of loss? Pick one.
And you said that they're both in love with the same person. All right. And you left that out.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty important.
I'm like,
All right.
two rival cowboys
Okay.
puts us in a very different mindset.
And this is why I couldn't rewrite it because I just didn't have the information. Plus, I would have said that they were gay cowboys.
Yeah. But thank you, Jeremy, because I also want to point out just how much I appreciate the bravery and the courage of everyone who did submit. Every time you finish a piece, it's a miracle. You know how many books don't get written, how many screenplays don't get written, much less you have the energy and the courage to submit yourself to the judgment of any other human being. Seriously, can I get a round of applause for everyone who submitted? Thank you. Alonzo, are you in the room?
Hey, I met him earlier.
Well then, when you meet him next,
All right.
we can make fun. All right. In a world where time-traveling agents routinely intervene in people's lives, the only man never visited becomes obsessed with proving whether destiny is real or just theater.
What do you think? I don't seem to remember that on my list. I kind of think that I'm seeing this for the first time, to be honest. So, again, we've got time-traveling agents, so it's very generic. We don't have a specific character. And, you know, in these kinds of movies, especially Hollywood sci-fi, you know, you always have a character that sort of finds himself at odds with sort of the world that he's in, right? Like in Logan's Run, he's a cop who is killing people who turn 30, and then when he turns 30, he's got to take it on the lam. You've got Minority Report, a cop that's all into capturing criminals before they commit the crime, and then he's accused of committing a crime that he's yet to commit. And iRobot, you know, I mean, all of these. Planet of the Apes, you have a misanthropic astronaut who hates mankind and then finds himself on a planet of apes. There is that irony that is very, very important in film sci-fi, which this lacks for me, and it doesn't have a protagonist, really. Yeah. And then this whole thing of becomes obsessed with proving whether destiny is real or just theater. I don't know how somebody goes about investigating that. It feels a little too esoteric for me.
Something I see in this logline is your logline also isn't your trailer. Anytime we start with in a world, that's for the audience. That's a joke between all of us as filmmakers and audience members. We want log lines to be a little bit more technical and a little less flourishy. You want to set the tone, but not necessarily guide the audience right into the theater with it. That's a different type of writing. I see two questions in the audience.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I think the protagonist is the only man never visiting. and we get lost
Oh, you're right.
because it's in a world where.
Okay, really good point. And then I just heard somebody about to say, then it should have what?
Should have led with it.
Correct.
Should have led with it.
Absolutely right. You always lead with your protagonist.
Yeah.
Always lead with your protagonist. So a sloppy read like mine was, I just immediately go back to that guy who's at the start. Now, look, in a sci-fi logline, you often do have to set up the world. Because if we don't understand that it's a world where time traveling happens, then what follows doesn't make sense. So you have to include that. But maybe you find a more elegant way than in a world.
Yeah. Also, first comma. If you don't know who it's about by that first comma, you're getting lost after. Like, you want to make sure that you're getting to the most important thing first, and maybe it's about the rest of it. All right.
And the time traveling agents is so much more interesting, I think. I think that's why my eye just kind of went right back to that, because that to me is a lot more interesting than the other guy who's doing, I don't know, theater or something. What he's doing, like Les Mis, or what's going? I don't even know what that means.
All right, Margaret Porter, are you in the audience? You're in the viewing audience at home, I'm sure. A 20-year-old woman, a talented dancer studying at an exclusive art school, dies in a head-on collision. Her neurodivergent mother, who married the girl's father at 18 after becoming pregnant, goes mad with grief, the force of it revealing the truth of the dancer's paternity, a long ago assault, privilege, and desperate acts, forever changing their sunny, all-American farm town.
So I started to write a logline for it, and I liked it, and then I was like, no, this actually isn't right. And then I kind of realized that I don't really know what it is that the character wants. Like, look at it. There's so much stuff in there. Yeah. And it just became very confusing. So I'll say a couple of things. We don't need to know that she's a talented dancer studying at an exclusive art school. Why don't we need to know that? Well, because it doesn't have a payoff in the logline. So it could just be a 20-year-old woman. I mean, she dies anyway, so what the hell do we got to know all this stuff for? And then we get this whole history, which could probably be siphoned down into something much more palatable.
And is this a story about the dancer? Is this a story about the mother? Is this a story about the town?
This
is
was
like
this
that,
was why
that's
I
the big
couldn't.
question.
This was why I really couldn't focus it. I could have rewritten it, like changing story elements, but again, that would be cheating.
Yeah. And it all, like, as you hand things off to other people, you also run the risk of losing the meaning of your core work if you aren't clear about who, what they want, all that. All right. I think that is everyone. Do you want to go back to the second David one? All right.
Came all the way from Chicago.
All right. Okay, we were at Pirates. All right.
All right.
When social media is blamed for inciting an assassination, an eccentric scientist convinces the government to use his AI bot to quell online misinformation. When the bot becomes sentient, he must race against time to shut it down before World War III breaks out.
Now, I think I wrote one for this. Is it there, or is this one that's missing? Okay, so
No, it was.
I think I did one for this.
Yeah, you
Let me
did.
just see. Let me see.
It was like in the wrong place.
All these laws, they run into each other after a while.
There it is.
Oh, okay, well, there we go. Wait a minute, I'm confused.
No, this is the one.
Oh,
The slides were out of order. That was my bad.
I thought this was
we're good.
David's.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why we got confused. Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Sorry, John. Sorry, David. My bad.
All right, so this was my version. After social media is blamed for an assassination, an eccentric scientist deploys his AI to fight online misinformation, only to face disaster when it becomes sentient and manipulates global conflicts, forcing him to stop it before World War II erupts. It's World War III. I'm sorry, what did I say? Oh, well, you know.
But it's right on the page, y'all.
I'm reliving my old days. Better? A little bit simpler, yeah. A little bit shorter. There's a lot in that story. So,
Yeah.
but again, I think there's ways to sometimes clarify and remove certain words, it's very important that you look at the log line and really ask yourself, all right, do I need this in the log line for somebody to understand the log line?
Yeah.
Or do I feel like I just want to put it in there because it sounds cool?
All right. Your question, David.
Yeah, I haven't actually written the script yet, so it's obviously a very new concept. But my log line, I'm not sure yours hits on it. The scientist who wrote the AI now has to disable the AI. So I'm not sure that yours kind of gets.
But so what? So let's go back to the other one.
Yes.
All right. So I'm sorry. Just point out to me where it says that he has to disable it.
He must race against time to shut it down before World
Okay.
War III.
All right.
So.
And so then what did I say? You could
Stop
just
it.
swap out something and put that in there.
Do you think the concept has legs given AI and everything nowadays?
Well, of course, it obviously, I think, hits on some current events.
Yes, it yeah.
And then, there's been a lot of misinformation as a result of that current events. And so, yeah, perhaps, sure.
Thank you.
But these kinds of stories can be tough to write,
It's enough to make me want to read the script, but at the same time, you're probably up against several dozen other scripts with a very similar logline.
But you heard what you just said. It's enough to get her to read the script, so that's good. All right, we're wrapping up. Good. Yes, no, buddy? I want to make sure everybody got their money's worth. All right, so thank you very much for dropping by. Appreciate it.